Yes, of course.
Thank you so much for coming, taking time on a Sunday. We really appreciate it. And Nja's going to join me in just a moment. I'm going to start the transformational morphing of what goes on here. Okay?
So he's coming in?
Yeah. Right here without that. Right, come on in. Have a seat. Make yourself comfortable.
Good.
We're going to visit a few different time periods while you're here. Some of that took place right here in Globe, and one elsewhere as we honor Black History Month with my wife Nja, who's going to come up and do something special for you. So please welcome my wife Nja Onê.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. So, hello everyone, and welcome to the Art of Nja Onê Gallery's Black History Celebration, a celebration of life. And for all of you on Facebook Live, hi, and welcome as well. You know, I know a lot of people wanted to come up from Phoenix or from Las Vegas, where we just moved from, and they was like, well, hey, we want to come, but we can't make it, so what can we do? And so we added this element to it for all of you. So how you doing? We have some amazingly talented people right here in Globe that's going to help tell all the many stories associated with this rich culture. And from the beat of the African drums became slave songs, Negro spirituals, gospel, blues, ragtime, jazz, rhythm and blues, and even hip hop, and everything in between. Because what ties us together is the beat, our heartbeat. The beat of the drums, that hypnotic rhythm, fortified broken spirits and gave hope to wounded souls. And to me, it's like a very rich gumbo that no two cooks do exactly the same. You know that when you taste maybe Will's gumbo, I will. Or Elizabeth's gumbo, you know that you make it totally different. It might be exactly the same ingredients, but there's something different about it. But the one thing that you always know, that when you take that first little taste, you know when there's something missing. That special ingredient that along the way you forgot. And today, we're going to add that ingredient, that missing little piece of something that we need to add to this thick, rich gumbo that we call America, that we call the United States. Because it takes all our cultures, all of it, to make it just right and make it taste just perfect for all of us. So today, that's what we're going to be doing, and I want to start with just something for you to ponder as we go through the history that we're going to be examining today. And some history I'm sure you know, but there might be a little element someplace along the way just met me. So, my question to you as we go through the program is, how many of you have taken a DNA test? Yeah? How many of you discovered something about your heritage that you've never known before? Yeah? Did it enrich your life? Yeah? Did it change your perception of how you look at the world? Now imagine never knowing who you are and the deep void that knowledge of oneself would bring. So many Black Americans, African Americans, so many of them, so many of us, that's what's missing. That's what we strive for. That's the connection. And so when you see people digging and looking for that pride, that missing element, that missing ingredient in their lives, understand what they're thriving and striving for. And with that piece of wonder, let's begin.
Yay. I love to applaud my wife because she is so talented. For those of you who've never been here before, welcome. Thank you for coming. And the lights will go back up later, but all the artwork around you is Nja's creations. And one of the things that she's going to be doing later is acting out this wonderful creation, Mama LeGrand, who's got a very touching story. It's one of Nja's spirit people. And this is a print, and the actual original mixed media piece is towards the back of the room on this wall that you'll see later. And now I want to introduce you to someone very, very special in our lives. She's become Nja's right-hand person, really, in the forefront of a lot of things that Nja does. I help Nja with a lot of things behind the scenes. But Azalea Roman is going to come out and do something special for you. And she's just been such a tremendous help here at the gallery and Nja's laboratory, which is out back. So give a big hand for Azalea.
Harriet Tubman said, "I would have been able to free 1,000 more slaves if I could only have convinced them that they were slaves." Through song and dance, the slaves were able to share knowledge right under the noses of their enslavers. An example of this is the song Follow the Drinking Gourd. The story goes, an underground conductor, a white day laborer named Peg Leg Joe, would travel from town to town looking for work and spreading the word that he had room on his train by singing this song. The slaves of the plantation would repeat it so all who wanted to book passage on his next trip north could prepare for their journey to freedom. It also served as a verbal map to guide those who wanted to escape but could not at that time. As you enjoy the song, listen for the hidden clues. The gourd refers to the Big Dipper and the North Star. Quail singing and sun refers to very, very early departure. The old man, left foot, peg foot, refers to Peg Leg Joe. Dead trees and waterways and hills are guideposts. Enjoy Follow the Drinking Gourd. Follow the drinking gourd, follow the drinking gourd, for the old man's waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. When the sun comes back and the first quill calls, follow the drinking gourd. The old man's waiting for to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Now the riverbank makes a mighty good road. The dead trees will show you the way. Left foot, peg foot, traveling on. Follow the drinking gourd. Now the river it ends between two hills. Follow the drinking gourd. There's another river on the other side. side. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd.
Very nice. Great. So talented for only 16 years old. Amazing. I love it. So now Nja's going to tell the story as Mama LeGrand of Mama LeGrand's story. So enjoy that.
This part isn't written down because I have to say it. I'm very honored that my paintings picked me to tell their story. It's always a blessing, and I'm always touched when I get a chance to share what they shared with me to other people. There was a time in my life when everything became very, very dark because of some sad things that came in my life, and I blocked them out. I couldn't remember anything, and then after the death of my mother is when everything stopped. I lost the ability to read, to write. I couldn't leave my house. Everything stopped for me. And in that dark place, that very deep, dark place, my love for art found me. And that's when I met all these spirits, and they still come to me. They still come, and I'm so blessed, and I'm so proud that they do. But that's why when I get a chance to share their story, they were always telling me something that I needed to know to help me, to bring me out of that dark place. That's why they came to me, and they told me that, if you paint us and write the stories down, other people are going to want to hear it. Well, at the time, I thought they were absolutely nuts. It didn't make any sense at all. I was like, what are you talking about? But it was true. And from that point on, I've been doing it ever since. And I just wanted to take the moment right now and just to thank them for all their love and their help and their support for bringing me to be the person I am today. So, thank you. Mama LeGrand. She told me, baby, you don't know what real hurt is. That's how she began to tell her story to me. And as she spoke, I could hear a young man singing an old Negro spiritual far away in some distant place. Born into slavery, she lived through the Civil War and now Reconstruction. She took a job as a washerwoman in New Orleans, which was right outside the plantation she was freed from. At the end of every day, she goes and she sits on a small wooden stool, kind of like this one, studying every face that walks in the crowd, always clinging to a little rag doll her son dropped on that cold dirt floor the morning they took him away. She waits, her eyes piercing through the multitudes, looking for the one face that is looking for hers. It's my honor to present to you Mama LeGrand.
I hears a cold wind a-blowing. Oh, Lord, it's blowing slow. You know, I don't know. I don't know where they took him. I just don't know. When he... The night before they took him, I held him so tight. I held my baby so tight, and I just rocked him. I just rocked and said, hush, hush my baby, hush my Bowen. Lord, take this pain from deep our soul. Because where they were taking him, I didn't know. I didn't know where he'd be. All I know now is that my back is cracking. And my hands stay so. You know, I got these youngins now. They got these youngins and they say, Mama, come on up north with us, Mama. Mama, come north with us. And leave all that pain behind you. Mama, let it go. And come on up north with us and start a new life. Those youngins, they don't understand. They don't understand that I can't leave. Because if I leave, how's my baby gonna find me? How's my baby gonna find me? So I stay put. I stay right here. I can hear him. I hear you, baby. So you go on and blow wind, you go on and blow, you harsh wind. You go on and blow, you cold wind. You go on and blow. 'Cause my baby's coming back. My baby's coming back. He's coming back from me. And I ain't going until I see my baby again. My baby coming home. Sorry, she takes me there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh boy. And people wonder why I don't wear makeup when I do this. Hello. So thank you very much. And our next person up is.
You want me to?
Yes. Yeah. No, I was doing the.
So I'm waiting for you. Come on down. I'm going like this back there.
Oh, sorry.
That was great. It was beautiful.
Hey,
So
Dan.
there's a,
Hey, Dan.
yes.
Your camera looks like it's almost full of storage, so I don't know if you
Oh,
want to
it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks. So, I'm gonna adjust this for the next person coming up. So, well, you are to me. So that's a sample of where a lot of this beautiful artwork came from. And again, when we're done, the lights will come up. And for those of you who haven't seen it, you'll be able to take a look and really understand what she was talking about. But next up is a very special presentation by Will Bowen, and this was written by Leanne Powers, who couldn't be here today. So in her absence, we're honored to have Will tell the story of Alvin Booth, who Nja and I didn't want to hear the whole story from Leanne. We wanted to wait till today, but the little nuggets she gave us about Alvin Booth, who came here around the turn of the last century, it's a fascinating story. And I'm curious how many of you who have lived here for a long time know this story or stories like it, or if it's just as new to you. We're new here. We moved here a year ago, December, and we just keep finding more and more and more treasures about this place under every stone that we unturn. It's just been great. So please welcome Will Bowen.
Attack of the microphone. In 1868, 3 years after the Civil War, there was born to Adam and Lucy Booth in Hillsboro, Texas, a son born free, facing a different life other than that of the members of his family. Alvin was a free American, not by emancipation, but by birthright. The offspring of Adam and Lucy would be taught to be worthy of his heritage and would be shown the pitfalls to avoid in order to journey through life with the respect of white people and to reflect the credit of his race. The boy had inherited his father's physical fitness and mental traits. Alvin followed his father's footsteps and made his own mark in the world. 40 years of Adam's life was spent in slavery. An additional 51 had been buoyantly born, and an additional 51 had been buoyantly born since the close of the war and the dawn of the freedom into which he had passed with the surname of Booth. He and Lucy had been sold into slavery 5 times, the last to Colonel William Booth of Hillsboro, Texas. They were the first slaves to dwell in the Hill County after the Civil War. Adam took the name of the former owner and master and became Booth. The boyhood and early maturity of Alvin justified the faith of his father. Soberly following the occupational lines of the Negroes, his activities were seasonal. On the spring and summer, he labored on the farms in the townhouse of the prosperous citizens. He was also a good house servant, janitor work, being a porter in a business. It served to attract other employers to his dependability and faithfulness. He became a janitor, an errand boy, and a watchman at the Sturgis National Bank of Hillsboro. His integrity and loyalty was taken for granted, but everybody liked him. Former cashier of the bank had accumulated several business interests in Arizona. They were versatile, stock raising and cattle buying in connection with the government contracts and supplying the beef for the Apache Indian reservations near Globe. When Mr. Porter moved to Globe, he took Alvin with him as a body servant or valet for the time. There was no bank in Globe, so J.N. Porter organized the First National Bank, and Alvin became a janitor and bodyguard to Mr. Fortier, as he called him. A new department in the banking business of the frontier mining town offered itself with the colorful appearance of Alvin Booth in an implemented uniform that might reflect credit upon a metropolitan financial center. Mr. Alvin Taylor, then the president of the First National Bank of Chicago, knew that Alvin was with Mr. Porter in Globe. He was not too busy to keep in touch with Alvin and regularly renewed his uniforms and capes and the contributions to the colorful trappings of a small town janitor. Alvin's natural thrift and shrewdness enabled him to save and to accumulate and participate in the new enterprises of his white friends. Globe began to grow, and Alvin was permitted to participate in the ground floor of stock issues and the creation of several community events. The Negro gathered realty holdings and became a prosperous landlord with a rent roll derived from his white tenants. He still followed his old occupation of janitoring through this period and being the watchman for the bank. "Alvin," said Mr. Porter one day, "you have too much idle time and idle money lying around. You ought to put it to work." A character reply came from Alvin. "Yes, Master Porter. All the time you have been telling me, save your money and don't let nobody fool you into buying something you don't know nothing about. Now you tell me is what to do, and I don't know nothing about it, but I always does what you tells me." During the Depression, Mr. Porter lost nearly all of his cattle holdings. Word reached Globe that Mr. Porter was ill in Los Angeles. Alvin idolized Mr. Porter, so he hastened to the relief of his old friend. He went to California with all the available cash he could gather, and short notices he had handed over $10,000 as outright gifts to Mr. Porter. Sorry, we have a small technical difficulty. "Mr. Porter," he said, "this is all I could get in a hurry, but you can have everything I got in this world. You are my best friend. You helped me get what I've got, and you showed me how to be more. I can get started over and get along because I learned from you. And what you need is a good rest. And when you need more money, just let me know. This is a little present for me. Now keep still about where you got it, and don't tell anybody nothing. You don't owe me nothing. It's me that owes you everything." Mr. Porter reported his friendship, soon passed on. The little story of Alvin's adoption of Mr. Porter is too much to remain a buried treasure and is now embroiled in the frontier annals. In 1913, Alvin was chosen by the governor of Arizona to represent the Emancipation Commission in Philadelphia. He too presented a wholesome view of his attitude towards his own race. In closing his talk, he said, "I wish to say for those I represent that we appreciate the kindly feeling which is extended to us at all times by the white people. For no complaint has ever been made when we conduct ourselves as good men and good women. It is with considerable pride that I say that I was chosen to represent the colored people of Arizona at this convention by Governor George P. Hunt, with whom I am acquainted of. Alvin's father still resided in Hillsboro, Texas, where he was well known and had many friends. In the fall of 1916, Alvin persuaded him to move to Globe and live with him and his wife. They spent the remainder of his life happy in his surroundings in luxury and in satisfaction of making his home with Alvin, his son, now a prosperous citizen and the richest representative in the section of the state of the colored race. A happy old man, snugly ensconced in his warm overcoat, came to the train at Bowen, a little junction place which lines in the Apache Pass. He was to transfer trains and go on to Globe. The train was late at Bowen. His night stop there was an enforced layover. Adam and two other passengers stayed in the waiting room at the station house, made of felony-wrapped pine lumber. There was no heat and little waiting room. In the cold room, the two human beings shivered and waited for the dawn's light. One was all a little boy of 7 years, once a little boy of 7 years old, a careless, thoughtless father drifted away in the search of a certain sort of sociability to be found in the crude nightlife of the railroad junction settlement. The other was a sturdy, in black and white vision of the Old South, with snow-white hair ascending to the visage of the aged Negro who carried the burden of 95 years with ease. The lonesome, thinly clad boy who had been temporarily deserted by a delinquent father stirred freely in the residence to the bleak air that seeped through the loosely batted station. Adam took off his warm overcoat and wrapped the little fellow in it. When the little boy slept comfortably all night in that dreary waiting room, he was watched by Adam. Morning. The train eventually arrived. Passengers from Globe staggered in. They saw the old Negro and heard the crooning over the little wit's child in the area, warmly bundled in Adam's Booth's coat. On their arrival in Globe, Adam and Alvin delivered the little fellow to more of his relatives. The aftermath of this faithful vigil and the care of the little fellow followed Adam to Globe. A chill and pneumonia followed swiftly, and old Adam went down the long trail and a few weeks later, giving his life to save the life of a little white boy. Somewhere in America, there goes a man who owes his life to Adam Booth. Alvin passed away in 1937. Respected by the whole community, he and his father lie side by side in the white man's cemetery in Globe. He did so much for his race that he can be called America's first black pioneer. Alvin had a very pleasing, kindly disposition and was liked by all the employees of the First National Bank. He was there to greet us as we arrived each morning. Alvin went with me to Miami the day before the Bank of Miami opened. Seated in the back seat of a little car that plowed over 8 miles of dirt road between the two towns. At his feet were bags which contained over $50,000, and at his side, his .45 pearl-handled revolver. When we arrived at the bank, we placed the money in the little safe. Before leaving, he said, "Mr. Bill, you sleep with one eye open tonight and your old .45 gun handy." That is just what I did. I slept on the folding cot with my head against the combination of the safe and the old .45 gun close. When our new bank building was completed, Alvin occasionally came back for a visit and occasionally said, "Mr. Bill, I came out to polish your new furniture. You may be a good banker, but you're sure not good at taking care of janitoring duties." He helped many a person, black and white, over the rough spots in his life. His skin was black, but his heart was gold.
Thanks, Will. That was great. What a great story. So how many of you have been in Globe for more than 5 years? How many more than 10 years? How many more than 20 years? How many of you ever knew that story? Isn't that fascinating? It makes us wonder how many more there are similar to that. And not just of color, but other amazing stories of people that kind of pioneered their way and found themselves and kind of trailblazed their life from right here in Globe, which is what we're doing in the second half of our life. We, like I said, we moved here a year ago, December, and for those who don't really know us yet, we decided to just get out of we had what's called an F it moment, and wanted to just get out of the city. and just from the Bronx. I'm from Los Angeles. We met right after I moved to Las Vegas 10 years ago. 10 years ago, coming up in a week and a half actually, or a week, and we just love it here. I can't say enough how much we love it here, so I won't. So back in 2015, Libby Rooney wrote this wonderful article here, and the great thing about history is it never goes out of date. It's always relevant. And so Libby's going to come up and talk about this article, which is Teachers of Color. It's about Daisy Moore and Marietta Bryant, and it's a lesson in integration and integrity. So please welcome Libby Rooney. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. It really is an honor to be on this stage. I was really moved by Nja and Alvin Booth's story. And it made me think about how history, how we learn about the big people. And I had a friend visiting, and I told her the story of Marietta Bryant and Daisy Moore, and she said, well, do you know more about them, who they were and what they did? And they're so little known, it was hard to find people who knew these two little women who were elementary school teachers. And it's realizing that there are so many people who make our history, and very few are recognized. So anyway, Marietta Bryant and Daisy Moore were two young black elementary school teachers who came with their husbands to Globe in Miami in 1946. They were hired to teach at the African American Dunbar School in Globe and the Thomas Jefferson School in Miami. Segregation of blacks from whites was law in Arizona since 1909. And even though there were not many African Americans here, they had to have their own schools. And it's interesting on the side to note that segregation of Mexicans and Native Americans from whites was also practiced in Arizona at that time, but it was not required by law. In 1951, a statute was passed allowing desegregation of blacks, which pleased our local school districts, who immediately closed both Dunbar and Thomas Jefferson schools and fired the two black teachers, saving the school system a lot of money. The few black children were integrated into the white schools, but the school superintendents and board did not want to have black teachers teaching white children. Their excuse being budget and practicality. So Marietta Bryant and Daisy Moore filed a lawsuit in the Arizona Superior Court against Globe Miami school districts, defending their right to employment based on their credentials and tenure rather than their race. And they won. But the Globe and Miami school superintendents stubbornly filed an appeal. But the happy ending is that the two teachers won again. So in 1952, Daisy Moore was hired to teach 3rd and 4th grade at the Knoxker Hill School, and Marietta Bryant was hired to teach penmanship at Bullion Plaza School. And they were both compensated for 1 year back pay. For me, the most interesting and inspiring part about this story is not what they did, but when they did it. In 1951, before the civil rights movement of the 60s and before Martin Luther King. And that they were not only black, but they were women. And if that's not enough to make their struggle difficult, they did what they did in Globe, Miami, where they were an almost insignificant, hardly felt minority in this part of the U.S. It really is a true Samson and Goliath story. In 2015, like Dan said, these two women were both inducted post-mortem into the Arizona Women's Hall of Fame. And if you were wondering, they both became highly respected educators by both students and colleagues in their respective desegregated schools. Daisy retired from teaching at Nofsker Hill in 1975, and Marietta taught at Bowen Plaza until 1961.
Another great story in history from right here in Globe. So Nja's going to come back out and read something called Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Sorry, it wasn't your hair this time.
So, how many of you guys know Maya Angelou? Know her work? Yeah? Woo! Great! Good fan. I am a major fan of hers. And I'm honored to say that there was a high school that I taught in Las Vegas. It's called Desert Rose. And it was an alternative, a regular high school and an alternative high school. And they commissioned me to make a painting inspired by Miss Maya Angelou, Why the Caged Bird Sings. And it currently is in their library to inspire the children there. So very honored for that. It's huge. I think it's like 4 by 4. It's like this gigantic piece of art, but I was so honored for them to ask me to do that, as well as inspire the students there while I was there. So, this one's one of my favorites. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is the one that I felt was the most appropriate. And I hope you feel the same way too. It's called Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may throd me in the dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why do I cause you gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope spring high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bow head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my hauntiness offend you? Don't you take it awfully hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold wells digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise? When I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from the past that rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide. Welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terrors and fear. I rise into the daybreak that's wondrous and clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, yes. I rise, yes. I rise. Thank you.
So, would you like your glasses? So I will sit on them? Because that happens sometimes. I sat on my own glasses once. So, this brings us to the interactive part of the day that we'll close with. I'm sure we'll get a few additional words from Nja. You know that, have you all ever heard your heartbeat, like maybe you're going to sleep or you got earplugs in or your fingers in your ears. Have you ever heard your heartbeat before, your pulse? So that heartbeat is, I think, is where music first came from. You know, the voice is the first instrument. The drum is the second, and some people have said it's the other way around. So what I'd like to do is, for those who are willing, I'd like to pass out some hand percussion instruments, and we'll do not a drum circle, but a drum chevron, because that's how the seats are set up. So if anyone wants to participate, I'm going to pass out some goodies. And for those who do not have a drum, and believe me, this is easy. In fact, I like to say it's so easy, even a drummer can do it. But you don't have to be a drummer to do this. I'll give real easy instructions, and if you don't have a drum, you can keep time with your hand, and we're all going to play together and just kind of lift everything up, and it's almost like forming an organism, if you will, together as we all kind of keep time, and then I'll call out some different people who have an instrument for you to take a solo if you'd like, while we're all kind of keeping time. Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to pass some goodies out.
Want some assistance, sir?
Sure. Pass
Okay.
that.
And I see takers. Come on up. Oh, don't be shy enough. I can do it. Don't even thank you.
Yeah, this is easy, believe me. Who wants a shaker? Who wants a tambourine? Wants a shaker? Okay.
Let's try that over.
Who wants a tambourine?
Yes. Come on. Oh, that's right. Come on into that. I got some
okay.
Whoa, I reached it. There you go. Awesome. Anybody, any other takers?
Here's a drum with mallets.
That's the one.
Just for Jewel. Oh, you want to switch? You're allowed to switch. Okay, here it comes. Would you like this one or that?
This one.
That one? Okay, I got the taker.
That's right.
Oh, okay, something else with a little more noise stuff.
Ah, here we go. There's this.
Anybody else? I see. Perfect.
Want to make sure they're all being used.
I'll take one of them.
Okay, pick.
Let me see.
No lonely drums, please.
Yeah, no thanks.
It's real easy. Who wants something?
Those are pretty.
Fred?
I see more in the back.
She threatened me here.
And I got one more.
Oh, how about the shaky thing?
Shaky thing's taken.
Okay, never mind.
Rachel? Okay. All right. This is really easy. So I'll demonstrate on this, because I'm going to play this. This is a steel tongue drum that was made for me by an artisan who makes these in Switzerland. And he actually made a video of it being made, and it gets torched. So it's got all these beautiful colors from it being heated, and I could not believe he sent it all the way from Switzerland just as a gift. We featured him playing a different instrument called a hang drum, which looks kind of like this, but like a big flying saucer. It's about this big around, and it has indentations all over it, and somehow it's tuned. And in a week, we showed this on my program, Drum Talk TV, and in a week it had over 1 million views. So this was his thank you for putting him on the global map. So I'll play this, but if you have a drum, what I'd like you to do is keep this sort of rhythm with the drum. So the basis is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then you can add this. 1, 2, ba-da-ba-ba. 1, 2, ba-da-ba-ba. 1, 2. Okay? Keep going, good. And for those of you perfect, you throw that in once in a while, and with it, it kind of changes the sound. Perfect. For those of you who have nothing, you can just keep time with your hand. Perfect. I'm sorry, what's your name? Donna. Donna's got the shaker, and if you hold it this way, okay, yeah, there you go. There you go, perfect. And the tambourine can keep time. You can wiggle it a from Mr. Doc Holliday. Cool. Now a shaker solo from Donna. Let it rip. You can shake that up any which way you want. I don't know who has the tambourine, but wiggle, there you go, wiggle that around and let's hear some tambourine solo. Fred, it's your turn to solo.
All right, shake this thing.
Awesome. And a bongo solo to go with that. Oh, you don't have the bongos. Oh, you have the djembe. Give us a djembe solo. Okay, whoever has not soloed yet, just play away. Give us a solo all together. Whatever you got. And then in a moment, I'm going to speed all this up, and you're all going to follow me. All right. So watch me. We're going to pick up this pace, okay? So bring it up to about like this. Perfect. And I'll do a little solo. There we go. Very good. Do we dare go a little faster? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Thank you so much. I think we just only have some closing words from Nja. That was great, thanks.
I don't know that I was putting you down in the back.
Where don't we go?
I was getting out, I was like, what?
This for you. You can always count on that, whether there's music or not.
That's true. I do dance to myself, I can't help it. Everybody, thank you so much for attending the first of many to come Black History events. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And your next clap.
I got it. I got this.
Just check it. Sorry. Usually she babysits me.
So
but I have
where's
to
the
make sure
next
this
one?
comes right.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Let's get focused.
Never around here, tell you what. So, I want to finish my closing if that's all right with you, Mr. Shinder. Thank you very much. So anyway,
Here's some cliff notes.
thank you everyone for coming. And so now that everyone has had, they dipped their bread into this yummy, delicious gumbo that we created here today. I want you to bring those flavors home with you, cherish them, honor them, and realize that it takes all of us, all of our spirits, all of our love, all of our seasonings to make this life what we really want it to be. So thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
now, It's time for commercials. First that, thank you. So let's see. The next thing up is going to be another basket class, and it's going to be on March 10th here at the gallery from 10 to 3. Oh, there he goes. From 10 to 3. And this one, the last one was braided paper. This one we're going to be rolling the paper. So it's several different techniques that you can do.
These are braided.
That's braided.
Just examples of.
That one. So we're going to be making that. That'll be the next class, and we're going to be making those. Also, the next improv at the gallery will be on March 29th. It's always the last Thursday of the month. So the last Thursday. After that, and that starts from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I just want everyone to come on, and you can do anything you like. You can do spoken word. You can do, you can sing, you can act, you can, well, kind of dance. You know, you got to be careful with that. But other than that, you just bring everything. And it doesn't have to be original work. It could just be work that you really love and that you want to share. Because it's really about embracing creativity, embracing who you really are, and showing it to the world, because that's what makes it special. You know, so many people like to hide their specialness, but each one of us have something that no one else has. Nobody in the whole universe, no one has what you have. So why not share it? Because it enriches everyone when you do. I know that from my paintings, and they told me to share that story with all of you. So come and enjoy the improv at the gallery this month and the classes. And as always, I'm always adding something else, which reminds me, Mother's Day is coming up, and I got this amazing idea in the middle of the night, because that's the magic hour. And so for those of you that want to do something extra special for your moms, my mom isn't here anymore. She's in spirit, of course, and I love her to pieces, and so is Dan's mom. But for those of you that want to do something special for your mothers, you can either give her a gift certificate for one of the classes, or if you'd like me to make a special basket or something just for her, let me know, because that's going to be starting about next week. I'm going to start advertising it. So I'll have plenty of time to make something especially for your mom. You can pick the color, you can pick the size, you can pick whatever you want, and I'll make it just for her. So I wanted to add that in, since the universe and the spirits told me to do it, so I try to listen as much as possible, but my ego does get in the way sometimes. But then they smack me in the head, but that's another story. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see everyone here. There are refreshments that I made with my own cute hands, and so it's going to be my version of macaroni and cheese. There's also strawberry iced tea and lemon cucumber. So those are the two drinks in the back. And if you want some macaroni and cheese, no worries. I'll be serving it up momentarily. So again, thank you so much.
So yeah, I'll come around and collect the goodies. Feel free to stay and mingle till 4. Like I just said, there's refreshments, and enjoy the artwork. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
That's it all over the What I just look at inopportune time when you see it tomorrow, no doubt.
So many things.
And I'll be back the 3rd. Yeah, my mom's there. My sister
Who runs it? I'm gonna
my sister runs it, you know, it's actually easy. Yes, it is. And North Dakota's so good. So many rich around.
You grew up on the ranch, huh?
Well, I didn't. I grew up in Minot. If you look at the map, it's central North Dakota, and then you go down a bit, you see Towner. Our ranch is close to about 10 miles to Towner. And we go down weekends, and then when I got a little older, we spent